ज्ञानाञ्जन शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यं मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तां सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पदान् सहगण ललित श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय। वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासा आदि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यादि पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयं मुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवयां भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिके। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Today we are reading from Canto 1, Creation, Chapter 19, the appearance of Sukadev Goswami, text 31. Prashantam asinam akuntamedasam munim rupo bhagavato abhyupetyate pranamya murdna avahita kruta anjalay natvagira santrayat Anva prachyate. Synonyms: Prashantam, perfectly pacified; Asinam, sitting; Akuntha, without hesitation; Medasam, one who has sufficient intelligence; Munim, onto the great sage; Narupa, the king; Maharaja Parikshit; Bhagavata, the great devotee; Abhyupetya, approaching him; Pranamya, bowing down; Murdna, his head; Avahita, properly; Kruta Anjalai, with folded hands; Natva, politely; Gira, by words; Shunrutya, in sweet words; Anvaprachati, inquired. Translation: the sage Sri Sukadev Goswami sat perfectly pacified, intelligent, and ready to answer any questions without hesitation. The great devotee Maharaja Parikshit approached him, offered him his respects by bowing before him, and politely inquired with sweet words and folded hands. Purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The gesture now adapted by Maharaja Parikshit of questioning a master is quite befitting in terms of spiritual injunctions. The scriptural injunctions is that one should humbly approach a spiritual master to understand the transcendental signs. Maharaja Parikshit, who now prepared for meeting his death, and within the very short time of 7 days, he was to know the process of entering the kingdom of God. In such important cases, one is required to approach a spiritual master. There is no necessity of approaching a spiritual master unless one is in need of solving problems of life. One who does not know how to put questions before the spiritual master has no business seeing him. And the qualification of the spiritual master is perfectly manifested in the person of Sukadev Goswami. Both the spiritual master and the disciple, namely Srila Sukadev Goswami and Maharaja Parikshit, attained perfection through the medium of Srimad Bhagavatam. Sukadev Goswami learned Srimad Bhagavatam from his father, Vyasadeva, but he had no chance to recite it. Before Parikshit Maharaj, he recited Srimad Bhagavatam and answered the questions of Maharaja Parikshit unhesitatingly, and thus both the master and the disciple got salvation. Mukam karoti vachalam pangvam langayate girim yatkrupatamaham vande Shri Guru Deenataya. I offer my respectful obeisances unto my spiritual master, the deliverer of the fallen souls. His mercy turns the dumb into eloquent speakers and enables the lame to cross mountains. I seek blessings from all Vaishnavas. I seek forgiveness for any transgressions I may commit while I'm speaking. Today's topic is perfect teacher, perfect student. Bhagavan Shri Krishna has carefully orchestrated this entire flow of events step by step and set up this very unique and very particular meeting between perfect teacher and perfect student. We have to go back all the way to 15th chapter, where Pandavas, they retire in a timely fashion, which leads to Parikshit becoming the Maharaj. And then chapter 16, we all read and realized how Parikshit received the age of Kali. Chapter 17 was all about punishment and reward of Kali. And chapter 18 was when Maharaja Parikshit was cursed by the Brahmin boy. Finally, chapter 19, where we are, is the chapter of appearance of Sukadeva Goswami. And in the past few days, various devotees have so nicely described, the arrival of Srila Sukadeva Goswami, his appearance, and then finally, in this particular verse, we are reading how Parikshit Maharaj is receiving him. Srila Prabhupada says, the qualification of spiritual master is perfectly manifested in Sukadeva Goswami. And Maharaja Parikshit attains salvation here, hence he is perfect. Now, how did this transformation of Parikshit Maharaj happen? What are the steps involved in this transformation? How can we adapt these steps and become perfect students ourselves? Let's look at the first step. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te gnanino gnaninas tattva darshana. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge onto you because they have seen the truth. And here we are seeing how Parikshit Maharaj is approaching Srila Sukadeva Goswami with his folded hands, bowing down with his head and offering him a seat. And then, in the next verses, we'll see how he's going to inquire in a submissive way. In the Bhagavatam, it says, Dharman tu sakshat bhagavat pranita. The path of religion is directly enunciated by the Lord himself and none other. Therefore, mental speculation and dry argument cannot help lead one to the right path. One has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive the spiritual knowledge. Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender, and one should serve the spiritual master. How do we serve them? Like a menial servant, without false prestige, without any hesitation, with enthusiasm. And then, through the process of inquiry and submission to the spiritual master, we obtain the understanding. Maharaja Parikshit is setting an example by approaching Srila Sukadeva Goswami in this perfect consciousness. In Bhagavad Gita, we are being given the process And in Srimad Bhagavatam, we are seeing the process being implemented. Now, why should we approach a bona fide spiritual master? This is the second step. Shrunvata Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hrudaya Antastohi Abhadrani Vidunoti Shrutu Satam. So, a devotee who has developed the urge to hear Krishna Katha, when properly heard and chanted, it cleanses the heart of desires for material enjoyment. Whenever hearing and glorification of the Lord are undertaken, it is understood that Lord Krishna is present there in the form of transcendental sound, which is non-different from the Lord. In the present context, Srila Sukadeva Goswami is unhesitatingly ready to speak of the glories of the Lord, and Maharaja Parikshit is eager and fully attentive to hear the glories. In Sishtashtakam, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu declares that the holy name of the Lord has all the potencies of the Lord, and that he has endowed his innumerable names with the same potencies. There is no fixed time or situation to chant the holy names. One can chant the holy names with attention and reverence at their convenience. Clearly, the Lord is very kind to us. Now let us look at the third step. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatya uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtike. By regularly attending Bhagavatam classes and by rendering service to the devotees of the Lord, all that is troublesome to the heart is destroyed. Thus, the loving service onto the personality of Godhead is established in one's heart. Maharaja Parikshit is not only in the association of the person Bhagavatar, Srila Sukadeva Goswami, but he is also serving him by attentively hearing to the Bhagavatam that is being recited for him. In our congregation, we all have this wonderful opportunity of hearing to Srimad Bhagavatam every day morning. It is so wonderful and we are so fortunate. This we all should take maximum advantage of. We do have our congregation and our temple where there are plenty of service opportunities. We also are blessed by the visits of many pure devotees and Vaishnavas to our community. We should grab as much of these services as possible. The process of hearing Bhagavatam is transformatory. So, what are these transformations? The first one, Tada rajastamo bhava kamalobhadya cha cheta etair ani vruddham stitam sattve prasidati. As soon as one starts hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and establishes himself in the loving service of the Lord, the heart is cleansed and made. The heart is cleansed of the mode of passion and the mode of ignorance. Impurities like lust and desire and hankering all disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in the mode of unalloyed goodness. Now let's look at the second transformation that happens. Evam prasanna manasa bhagavat bhakti yogataha bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sanjayate mukta sangasya jayate. Thus, established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, one whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service gains knowledge of personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. So, liberation. This stage of liberation is attained very rarely. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhayet yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tattvata. Out of many thousands of men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of these who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. This is what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. And this transcendental knowledge is understood only by the process of devotional service. Bhaktya mam abhijaneti. And one who is in full consciousness of me and by such devotion can enter my abode. The final transformation, having gone through all these transformations, finally, the knots of illusion and misgivings are cut to pieces and chain of fruitive actions are terminated. Bhedyate hrudayas ganti, chidyante sarva samshayaha, kshiyante cha asya karmani mayi drushta akila atmana. What are these knots that are being cut to pieces? Hrudaya granthi, or the knots in the heart created by illusion due to false identification with the material body. This illusion causes one to become absorbed in material sex pleasure, dreaming of innumerable combinations of male and female bodies. A person thus intoxicated with sex attraction cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This strong and stubborn knots are cut to pieces. This also results in the termination of the chain of fruitive activities which keeps us in the perpetual cycle of life and death. So we have seen these steps one has to take, and also the transformations of the heart. It all starts with surrendering oneself to spiritual master in a submissive mode and eager to hear from him, hearing regularly with full attention and chanting regularly. This process is so potent that it brings about the transformation of heart by destroying all impurities in the heart and establishes devotional service. Krishna declares in Bhagavad Gita that this state of transformation is achieved very rarely and it can be achieved only through devotional service. These transformations also result in removing all illusions and false identification with the material body and establishes a clear understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This immediately terminates the cycle of birth and death and enables one to become a perfect student. Thank you, devotees. That's all I had for today. If you have any questions or discussions, please bring it up. Okay, looks like there is.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada.
Please accept my humble obeisance, Mataji.
Just want to thank you for the wonderful presentation. I'm bringing in from Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam in a very nice sequential way. Thank you very much. That's all. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Lingaraja Prabhu, looks like there is no more discussions or questions. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhobhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta koti Vaishnava ki jai. Thank you, Prabhu.